Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Talking politics with Russell Norman.
Yes, from the Green Party, co-leader of the Greens, of course. Thanks very much for joining us, Russell. Cheers, good morning.
Morning, Wammo. How's it going?
Good, sounds like you're like in a blowy place here at the moment.
Yeah, sorry, I've just... the bike ride in, I've just ducked out of the wind.
Oh, well, you're not sounding too puffed this morning. You must be very fit.
I've hardly started.
Are you your party started. Are you a lycra wearer?
No, not really. No, I'm more into the casual style.
Because often you're wearing a suit. I wonder if you can get one of those. Apparently, they're making fashion that you could wear at work, but you can also ride on your bike these days.
Oh wow, really? That would be cool. I need some of that.
Yeah. Hey, at the moment, all the parties are selecting their candidates, aren't they, for the various electorates around New Zealand for the election next year. The Greens, no doubt, in this process at the moment. I just want to know, will you be selecting candidates that look more like Green candidates?
We'll be selecting candidates from a wide range of New Zealand. Yes, unlike Paul Henry with his ridiculous comments.
I just wonder, with that, and I don't want to dwell on that too much, but what would you have done if you were in John Key's position?
Well, it is hard because you're on the run, but I'd like to think that what I'd do is I'd say, Paul Henry, you're a racist. That's a racist comment. You should withdraw it and apologise to all the people of New Zealand.
Can you imagine saying that at the time, though?
Well, I'd like to think that I would, but yeah, I mean, it's hard when you're on the run like that. But, I mean, obviously what Key did wasn't right, but, you know, it is hard when you're in the middle of it. I mean, the worst thing I thought was TVNZ, actually. I mean, Henry was really terrible, but the TVNZ follow-up that Henry says things that New Zealanders think. So TVNZ think that New Zealanders are a bunch of racists, and Henry is saying the things that we'd all like to think. So, I mean, I just think it shows why we need a public broadcaster in New Zealand instead of this ridiculous, garbage that TVNZ's tuning out on its breakfast show.
Yeah, but that ain't going to happen.
Well, I tell you what, it's Green Party policy. If we're able to influence things at some point, we'll certainly be pushing for a proper public broadcaster.
How are you going to pay for that?
Sitting... What's that?
How are you going to pay for that?
Well, it's not that expensive. I mean, TVNZ, kept in public ownership. If you kept TV2 as a commercial station, then that becomes part of the commercial takings. And if you had no ads on TV1, then actually the advertisements on TV2 would become more valuable. Or even if you had reduced ads on TV1 and then gave it a proper public broadcasting charter. I mean, SBS in Australia, they introduced a model where they had ads on the hour, and they had a public broadcasting model, and it seemed to work a lot better than what TVNZ are doing. What
do you think about just staying with this topic, a blending of Radio New Zealand and TVNZ?
There is a model for it, of course, in Australia with the ABC, but there's very different cultures now at Radio New Zealand. Radio New Zealand actually is a public broadcaster. TVNZ is the antithesis of a public broadcaster. So it's hard to see how you combine the models, but certainly the assets and the infrastructure, it does make sense to bring them together in one public broadcasting institution. But
TVNZ does have this odd thing on the side, which is 6 and 7, particularly 7 itself, which if the government's putting out the right signals, then 7 will stay non-commercial. So you could imagine that wing of TVNZ sort of splitting off and perhaps joining with the radio arm.
I agree. There is a potential synergy between TVNZ 7 and Radio New Zealand, but you'd want to talk to make sure that you don't destroy, what is a public broadcasting culture at Radio New Zealand. I think that would be the key danger, because obviously TVNZ and the board are just doing a terrible job at the moment, and nothing epitomises that more than their comments that they think all New Zealanders are racist, and that's what we all think. It's just disgusting.
I think it, also getting back to John Key's response, I think it ran through everyone's mind. What would have Helen Clark what would she have done? And I imagine that it might have been the stare of death and some verbal discipline.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you got to remember though, Paul Henry's a National Party guy. I mean, he was a National Party candidate, so I'm not sure the stare of death would have worked on him because he's a politician who's been given his own breakfast current affairs show to spout propaganda for the National Party. So he's pretty used to politicians from the other side.
Will you be appearing on TVNZ Breakfast with Henry in the seat?
I mean, he comes back because, and they invite us on, but only on the basis that we're allowed to raise the fact that he's making racist comments, and he's got to back down on them and apologise. I mean, even his comments yesterday were, I'm sorry if I caused people offence. I think he used that line again. It's just not credible. I don't know. I haven't really figured out whether to go on it again or not. I mean, it's not like they invite us there very much because, of course, they're completely biased against the Greens. Paul Henry makes it very clear he's completely biased against the Greens.
But if people felt strongly enough about this, then people just decided not to turn up and not to watch as well. Then I feel quite bemused when I look on social media and people say, oh, well, if you don't want to if you don't agree with what's going on there, change channel. And I was thinking, well, hang on, does that mean TV's the only option in the morning for a lot of people? I find it bizarre. I could not watch TV in the morning. I just find it a weird kind of headspace to get into. Yeah,
I know what you mean. I mean, a lot of people do, but I mean, I don't watch TV in the morning either. I'm a radio person in the morning, but people do. I mean, the tragedy is that with Sunrise closing down, there's no competition. If they had kept Sunrise going, actually, it would have been interesting to see whether people would have switched finally away from the racism and bigotry that you get on breakfast towards something a bit more liberal and progressive-minded, which is what you were getting with Sunrise. But unfortunately, we don't have any competition now. So for people that do like TV in the morning, they don't have the competition there.
But unfortunately, though, the format of breakfast TV lends itself to being kind of silly and frivolous and stupid.
Yeah, but racist?
Yeah, all of that. Which,
I mean, I'm happy. And if you want to be silly and frivolous, that's one thing. But if you want to be racist, and TVNZ backs the presenter up and says, "Yeah, New Zealanders are all racist," that's what everyone's thinking.
But your public service broadcaster, if it did a morning breakfast show, would it be more like the BBC?
Yeah, it would certainly be imbued by values of public broadcasting, which is, because effectively breakfast is our only current affairs show in the morning on TV. And so, it actually needs to be bound by the rules of good broadcasting, which is about balance. It's about not being racist. Just some basics like that, Nothing that radical.
Or just reporting the news would be good for once, or actually, delivering the news. I think. Yeah, well,
delivering some news. I mean, sure, add some comment, have some fun. It's got to be a bit lighthearted, I guess. But it doesn't mean that you have to be racist. Surely there's some basic principles that we all agree upon, except Paul Henry and TVNZ in New Zealand, which is that we don't want to live in a racist society.
Damn it, Russell Norman, we've talked too long about that fella. That's not what I wanted to do. Damn it, we've used all our time. But thanks for joining us this morning.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers. That is Russell Norman, co-leader of the Greens. Got a track now from the Eastern. This era is